Frasier's Edge is the 9th episode of the 8th season of Frasier. This is directed by David Lee, and as always there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. It's a solid episode. For me, maybe one of the most emotional and thought-provoking, and yet I still bury my head in the sand. I don't learn much from this, and I'll talk more about that as we go through things. Still not loving the treatment of Daphne. I understand why it's happening, but it really wasn't necessary, but I'll talk about that in time. Starts off at KACL. There's a problem with the caller, and then Kenny comes in, and he reveals that they've been nominated for multiple CBs, and Frasier is getting the Lifetime Achievement Award. How absolutely fantastic. We cut to Frasier in his apartment, practicing his speech in front of Eddie. Eddie gives it an adorable little yawn. He is just, I love him so much. And Martin comes in dressed very smartly, and then Niles comes in with some flowers that had been left outside from William Tewksbury. This is Frasier's mentor at Harvard. Not sure if people have multiple mentors at Harvard, but it is interesting because in Cheers, he said that his mentor was Dr. Ludlow. Ludlow actually plays a pretty great role in Cheers. I won't say any more about that, but the character brought us something quite delightful. Martin then gives Niles a gift because he has 2 special boys, and he gives him a world's greatest psychiatrist mug, which it's all in good humour. I think Martin genuinely did mean it. It's a very sweet moment. But I do like the fact that Niles isn't really showing jealousy. He's not really showing that he needs this praise. And we have seen a lot of rivalry between Frasier and Niles before, so it's nice that actually in this episode Niles is perfectly happy for Frasier to get this recognition, and I think it's really, really sweet. And then Daphne's in the room, and Frasier and Martin to each other make some comments about her weight, and I hate it so much because it's just unnecessary, and it's not as if she's gained that much weight. Jane Leeves is pregnant in the time, which is why they're making a lot of comments about her weight to try and write it into the story, and I know what's to come. A couple of episodes down the line, I know what happens, and maybe could be the next episode. No, I think it's a bit further than that. I detest it so much. But there are so many sitcoms where one of the characters is pregnant and they do an amazing job of hiding it. They did not need to make it so obvious. Maybe they wanted to do something different. Maybe they're saying, well, usually characters are pregnant and it's worked around by positioning props in front of them. Though once you know it. Shelley Long's pregnant in season 3 of Cheers, and once you know it, it's quite obvious. But it's just, I hate it so much, and this is not the first time, it's not the last time. I really hate it. And then Frasier agonises over what the note from Tewksbury said, the note that came with the flowers, so he goes to visit him, and we have a scene with Tewksbury, and it turns out his assistant wrote the card. It doesn't mean anything, and we get some great dialogue between the 2 characters, and it ends up with Frasier really yelling, what does it all mean? And I feel like we haven't had an outburst from Frasier like that since the Cheers days, and I found it to be a little reminiscent of that. We cut briefly to the event, to the award show, to the CBs, and Roz makes a comment to Martin about Daphne's weight. Come on, Roz, you know better than that to comment on another woman's weight, on anybody's weight, but it's just really, really uncalled for. And as I said, it's not as if she's gained that much weight. It's not overly noticeable, so it's disgusting. And then Gil doesn't win the award that he was up for, so it's not a great scene. It's not a very happy scene. Then we cut back to Frasier and Tewksbury, and we get quite some brilliant insight here. Frasier was drawn to psychiatry because he feared people, rather than out of a desire to help them. And this is because as a child, Frasier was bullied, which is something we know about. And instead of being scared of his bullies, he would analyse them. And that is so fascinating. And then we get into Lilith a little bit, which I always love. I love Lilith. And then Frasier establishes that his career is finite. And as, I nearly said Ludlow, as Tewksbury says, once it's gone, all you'll have left is that frightened 8-year-old boy. And that was heavy. Frasier realises it. I realised it. In that regard, I'm very much like Frasier. I am 100% career-oriented. Without my career, I have nothing. I am nothing. And now, to be honest, I don't agree that Frasier's career is finite. I would imagine he could be a psychiatrist up until the day he died. I could be wrong. I don't know if you're not allowed to practice psychiatry after a certain age. But as long as he's employed, has his radio show, maybe the celebrity aspect could be finite. but he could still contribute to papers, the academic side, he could teach. I don't actually agree that his career is finite, but it could be. It could end one day. It's not impossible that it could end. And then what does he have? Literally nothing. At this moment in time, yes, he has his son, but as Tewksbury points out, Freddie's back in Boston. He doesn't have a regular relationship with him. And it hit me hard, because everything Tewksbury was saying to Frasier, he might as well have been saying to me. Not in terms of me analysing kids at the age of 8, I didn't do that, but certainly the problems that Frasier was having, they translated to me. And I found that to be really difficult to listen to. And if you're in the same position, I think you'll find it very thought-provoking and very powerful. But as I said at the beginning, I still bury my head in the sand. I haven't made any changes. I probably won't make any changes. I'm still career-oriented. It's still my be-all and end-all, as is the case for Frasier. But at least it plants that seed of awareness. So absolutely fabulous. And Tewksbury makes him pretend to call his own show. And this is when Frasier realises that his problem is emptiness. And we have this an amazing analysis of Frasier's behaviour. And it leads Frasier to really admitting that all he has is his career. And the career is the very thing for which he is receiving the lifetime achievement. And that's, as I said, literally how I measure my own worth. Not in terms of awards, but personal success. And this, of course, is a huge signifier of Frasier's personal career success. So it's painful, but it's so eye-opening. And it's not as if we didn't know this about Frasier. We know that really all he has is his career. He's already explored the fact that he doesn't really have many close friends. We know he's not in a long-term committed relationship. We know all of this. We know he only sees Freddie sporadically. But to have it laid out and analysed so deeply and emotionally, if you can relate, having it all piled into one episode, it's a lot. And it's not the easiest watch, but it is perfectly executed. I loved every second of Frasier's interactions with Tewksbury. I thought it was absolutely fabulous. And then we end the episode in quite an interesting way, actually. We end at the Seabees. Martin is about to give the speech on behalf of Frasier because Frasier is, of course, running late. Frasier arrives just in time and he stands up, and it was really emotional. Really, really emotional. Because he says to the audience, yeah, if you can relate, it's very challenging. He says to the audience, "Thank you for honouring my life. I just wish I knew what to do with the rest of it." And he walks off, and that's basically how we end things. And yeah, the relatability is really painful and thought-provoking. And yeah, it's difficult. And of course, Lifetime Achievement Awards are often, not always, but often received towards the end of a person's life. It's kind of in the name. It's a lifetime achievement throughout their entire life. They've done these amazing things. And that's usually when somebody's career starts to wind down. They think about retiring. They're spending more personal time doing things they love rather than focusing on their career or the thing for which they've received the award. But if Frasier wanted to do that, how would he fill that time? He could write a play, not to compare him with Diane, but he could write a play, he could compose some music. There are things that he could do, but I feel like they would be unfulfilling in the long term for Frasier, and I think he knows that, and that's the whole emptiness. So yeah, I thought a lot with this episode, and as I said, for me, it's one of the most emotional, powerful, thought-provoking episodes. It's not the funniest. I feel like most of the comedy, and I put that in air quotes, you can't see that, but they're in air quotes, most of the comedy comes from the fat jokes directed at Daphne, which I detest. I hate them so much. It was completely unnecessary. So it's not a very funny episode. Some of Frasier's reactions with Tewksbury were quite funny. Tewksbury as a character was quite entertaining. But no, it's not one of the funniest. But it is one of the most moving and interesting. And yeah, maybe one of the strongest episodes. Frasier's Edge is a fabulous, dare I say, the Daphne jokes aside, it's a perfect episode of Frasier.